Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome. I am running out of ways to say that we have the most incredible people on the couches next to us because we have been blessed with some magic in the last few months. Yeah. And today is no exception. We have Michael Bearden, who is a true maestro, okay? He started playing piano before his feet could touch the ground. Mine still can't. Clearly, his can. An accomplished two-time Emmy-nominated musical director, keyboardist, arranger, conductor, composer for a diverse range of musical superstars. And trust me, you're going to flip out when you hear just how many. But to me, he's the superstar. So after today, the last thing on your resume will be a certified astronaut.
Yes.
Welcome, Michael Bearden. We love you.
Yes, I love you guys. Thank
We
you.
love you so much.
Yes.
You know we've been wanting to get you here.
Yes.
Probably like since episode 1, since we knew we had a podcast.
Yes.
But Michael is a very busy man, and we're so grateful that you were able to find a moment and come out here. You know how much we appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
Very excited to be here.
We're so excited to be here. I feel like there's so much that we can talk about, but for me, I would love to hear sort of your inception story, the beginning of when you fell in love with music.
When I fell in love with music, wow. So ever since I can remember, I've only wanted to do music my entire existence. Even when I was a very, very young boy, my parents kind of freak out that I remembered things when I'm like 3 years old. Just like, how do you remember that? And I really don't know how I do. But even then, the whole world was music to me. Like, so like just going outside and hearing the birds, that sounded like music to me. Car horns sound like chords to me. Everything was rhythmic. Like if you're in the car, of course, like windshield wipers, that feels like, you know, that's rhythm, but just everything in it. And I would just go to like my family and my brothers, just like, y'all don't hear that? Like, I thought I was a weird kid because everything sounded like music to me for as long as I can remember. So my first earliest memory of music was the babysitter at the time used to play Aretha Franklin all the time. And we would be running around the house and she would put that on probably because we were driving her crazy. And then for me though, when I heard that voice, I would just sit down and just listen and like, what is this? So that was my earliest memory of music, and to be able to grow up and actually play with her was...
And you grew up in Chicago, right?
I grew up on the south side of Chicago, born and raised.
Do you think that influenced your musical journey?
Absolutely. So my parents used to have like little parties and stuff with, you know, who I call my godparents and their friends. And so they would just be playing like Motown and just like a lot of different types of music.
Everybody that you were about to work with.
I know, who knew?
I had no idea that I was about to
your
work
colleagues.
with. Yes, but just, it was always music in the house, and they always played it. And they weren't musicians, they just loved music.
That was going to be my question. You're the only musician in the family?
Actually, no. My younger brother plays guitar still to this day. I mean, he doesn't do it for a living.
Yeah.
We all grew up playing something, you know.
Nice.
My father's an artist, like a painter, and
yeah.
So I come from that lineage. It's just like,
You paint too, right?
no. I did not get. I always say I didn't.
It's like I paint in sound, Emily. Sound.
Well, that's it. Tones. Like
Yeah.
my dad says that because he gets mad because it's like I didn't get that gene. Because like my nephew, my brothers paint. Like everybody paints or draws or does something like that. I just never got the hang of that. But I was always around it. It was always an easel. It's probably still easel in my parents' house right now. My dad working on something.
Wow, he
That is
still
so
paints.
cool.
Oh yes.
Wow.
Oh yes. He doesn't stop. So
So you fell in love with music. When did you actually start playing instruments?
I started playing the instrument probably when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And my mom tells the story really well, so I won't butcher it. But my dad sort of kind of forced us to play. He's just like, you're gonna learn instruments and you're gonna play about it. So they kind of chose it for me.
Yeah.
Did you always start with piano?
I started with piano, and they got a piano from somewhere, which is still in the basement of my parents' home actually.
Wow.
And so I call her my godmom, but my mom's best friend. Still to this day, it's like my second mom. She taught me like the basics because she learned in the church, I think. Then after they saw I was serious, then they started giving me more like professional help and all that. But so once I started, it just hit me like immediately. Yeah. Like piano was it. I have a photo somewhere. Maybe we'll share it later. But it hit me immediately. Like I just
the bug, you caught it.
That was it. My mom was like, "Go outside, like go outside and play." Like regular kid.
outside.
I'm not a regular kid. Mom. Yeah. Like this is what I do. It's like I would be on that thing after school or something for literally on the weekends 8 hours.
Wow.
No, until just sit there, maybe go eat.
So you put in your 10,000 hours before you were 10.
It's true. It's true. Like so. As far as them being supportive, you know, God bless them because you know you don't wake up and just know how to play.
Yeah, no.
So you sound awful a lot.
Yes.
When you're very young, and then I used to have little bands come up in the house and play, and I'm sure we sounded horrible, but my mom just let us, as she says, practice there. And it was funny. I was leading bands at like 10 years old. I didn't even know that it was called music director or whatever. They were just like, you seem to know what you're doing. Why don't you tell us what to do? So I was like, okay, you play this and you play. Like I was like.
So you almost did it. You almost learned how to play and learned how to
musical direct. He was arranging with windshield wipers.
I learned how to MD when I was like 10 years old.
Wow.
Because I was leading
the OG MD. That should be your DJ name.
I was leading the neighborhood kids and you know bands that I had when I was that young. Yeah.
Do you remember the names of any of those bands?
Oh, yeah. The name of the bands? You want me to embarrass myself?
Yes.
Well, one band we had was called Magic.
Oh, okay. What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong.
Yeah.
And my dad still has a poster that we made, like with a photo of us. I wish I had that photo.
That is super cool.
They still have that photo.
I want to see that on or off the podcast.
Yes. Maybe I'll find it or have them send it to me.
That's so cool.
I'm so little, like on my little keyboard, with the whole band around us. I forget the name of some of them.
You played covers or originals?
Originals and covers.
Wow.
Originals and covers.
Who was writing the music?
We were. That's a good question. I don't know how. I think we were like all kind of tag teaming
at the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. So we just make up stuff, and you know, we started at. But you know, the hours that I spent on the piano by myself, I would just always make up stuff too. So I guess that's just when you start composing. I guess just like make up things. And I learned how to play by ear. I used to ask for sheet music all the time, and my mom was like, "We're not going out and buying the sheet music."
Wow!
So she put the radio on the piano. I was like,
"Here's your sheet music."
Yeah, learn how to play. Learn how to play this. And so then I just started picking out chords and stuff. Like, okay, how do you do this? You just listen and you learn how to play. And so I listened.
Massive ear
Supreme
training.
ear training. Yeah.
Yes.
Incredible. Yeah. Talk about music theory.
Okay, so Magic finishes their headlining tour.
In the basement of my parents' home.
Yeah, live from the basement.
Yeah.
Rock out. And then you decide you want to be serious about music, so you pursue it.
Yes.
How did that go?
How did that go? So I guess.
What do you mean? It was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Like high school age. I started really getting serious. Like the high school that I went to, you had to audition to get in. So it's like it was academic, but it was like music and art too.
Oh, Jen went to an art school.
So I made my own tape in the most crude way possible with 2 tape recorders. So I played the drums first, and then I put a bass line on with that tape. And then I put keyboards on.
Wow.
Then I put
Michael plays everything.
Guitar on. And so by the time the tape, you know, if you do the bounce thing, the tape it sounds like that. But I sent it in and the band director liked it. And I got in, but they put me in the B band first. And I was like, okay, I'll just learn when I get here. I was in the B band for like a half a semester. And he put me in the A band.
Yeah, that happened to Mike League from Snarky, and he's like, all the B bands are actually the A bands.
Yeah,
they gotta work. They're hungry.
Is that because you're hungry? So then he put me in the A band. But from there in DC, I found out that there was a lot of kids like me in their respective towns that were like very talented. I was like, oh man, I got a lot more work to do because there's a lot of talented people.
Yeah.
So I think my training really happened when I was in college. It's just learning how to gig and do stuff. Like I was going to class, but I would be in the clubs till like 3 a.m. playing. So then I would have an 8 o'clock class. A lot of times I missed.
Yep.
but
you were in another class in a
yes,
way.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, you went to Berkeley, so you know what that lifestyle's like. Just playing, gigging, going to school.
Almost more valuable to be at the shows and to be in
it's
class.
almost more valuable. I mean, there's a lot of things that I learned in school, once again, like I said, that I still use, but just to be in the boots on the ground, learning how to do what you do, that's invaluable. You just can't, like, still to this day, the stuff that I do, I learned when I was in school.
Yeah.
Like,
the stuff that you do. I don't think it should be classified as stuff.
No thanks.
oh,
Just wait. We just wait until you people hear.
yeah,
Just buckle in. Before we actually get to that part, I want to just list some of the names because that would be crazy. But before then, I've been meaning to ask you this because this to me was a looming thing within the music. Like if you out there are in the entertainment world, or if it appeals to you, whether it's music or TV, anything like that, one of the things that I heard people constantly at that stage, in the college stage, is, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to turn this passion and this talent that I've now dedicated 4 years to, or 5 years to, however much you do, into income?
Yes.
And a lot of people that I knew either didn't make it to graduation because the opportunity came along and they're like, well, now's my moment. Or they graduated and had a great time in college, but then had to completely pivot and are now doing a completely unrelated job and music as a hobby. So I'm wondering if at that stage, obviously very different times, but nobody better than you, like, what did you do? And do you have any advice for where to jump off from a artistic education college level?
That's such a great question. That's so great. I think I was very lucky to have the kids around me who were hustlers. And like, so there's a drummer friend of mine who always had his drum set in his car.
Wow.
And he like literally he would go to class like, damn, I'm about to go to a gig. So I would ask him like, where are you gigging and what are you doing? And so I was very lucky to have these hustler mentality kids around me where I wanted to do what they did. And so I learned how to earn money while I was in school. When it came time to leave, like, so I was with a band that was very popular. We used to play in Georgetown a lot, and used to be lines down the block to see us. And like, it was a really great band, but I didn't want to just stay with the band.
Yeah.
I wanted to, like, you know, they were happy with like opening for the artists, which is nothing wrong with that, which is cool. But I just wanted to play with the artists. Like, I just saw a bigger vision for me.
Sure.
Not that they didn't, and they were great and all of that, and it was definitely great because we were making money and getting popular, and then you're learning your craft, and you know, every weekend, especially during the week too, people would come see us. But so I put everything that I owned into a U-Haul. That's how long ago this was.
Wow.
And moved to New York. I didn't know a soul. I have one of my friends who was in the jazz band with me. He had friends in New York. He's like, yeah, somebody's renting a room. I was like, I'll take it.
What spurred the move?
Fire.
Didn't see it.
No fear.
No fear. It was a 3-story walk up, no kitchen, sharing a bathroom with a family down the hall.
Woo.
Wow.
But I was in New York.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be there. I moved all the stuff up, even my heavy ass roads, all the way up the stairs by myself because I was supposed to be there at a certain time, but I didn't make it in time. So nobody was there to help me. So I didn't want to leave my stuff. Like, I didn't want to move to New York and all my stuff gets stolen. Like, I had to move everything up by myself. But I didn't care because I was in New York.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I just hit the ground running, like going to the jam sessions, signing up for stuff, trying to get put on, just for somebody to hear me play.
Yeah.
And just hustle. And I struggled a lot, but every now and then I would get a gig or something. And then one day, a friend of mine who was working with this flautist, very famous flautist named Herbie Mann, was coming to town and playing with Herbie. He's a drummer from Baltimore. And so I sent a message down to the club, you know, for him to hit me up. Nobody gets that message. It's like a busboy or somebody.
Oh,
it's like, yeah, I'll get the front of house.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah, like yeah, okay, whatever. So I wasn't thinking anything of it. And then he actually got the message and called me like, yo, what are you doing in New York? I'm like, I live here now. He's like, come down to the club. I'm like, I don't have any money. He's like, I got you. We come down. And long story short, I'm watching the gig. I'm there at the gig, and musicians can tell like when the artist is sort of kind of beefing with somebody on stage, like you can tell if something's not.
So I'm not right.
Yeah, something.
You can also tell when something's a little too right.
Oh, no, Jermaine.
You know.
You know. And so the Herbie and the guitar player, there's some kind of vibe going on. So after the show, I asked what's going on. It's like, I don't know, they kind of beefing or something. So and then he said, like, hold on a minute. And so he introduced me to Herbie. He's like, this is my friend. He plays keyboards. You should really hear him.
Wow.
And Herbie goes, do you know my music? And I'm like, I can.
He's like, you're like, give me 2 hours.
Yeah. And so he's like, I'm going to play in Baltimore next week. Come down, I'll give you an audition. I went down where they live. They rehearsed me. I learned as much music as I could. And he came, he gave me an audition. We played 2 songs. I never will forget this. He went over his suitcase. He pulled out like a calendar and he just started calling off dates.
No.
Such and such, we're going to be in Kansas City.
Wow.
Such and such, we're going to be in Hawaii. And, and I'm like, does that mean I have a gig, Mr. Man? He just kept talking. And my friends were like, I think you better write this down. And that's how I got that gig. And from there, it just took off.
From there, I'm going to tell you, before we start hearing some of those stories.
You need to add epic storyteller to the
I'm just
to
going
the
to
bio.
read off some of these names that I'm assuming, I mean, it started way before this, but the
Her
story's
list
about to
opens.
get, no, yeah, the list opens.
I'm interested to hear this myself.
The list opens and there's another list and I'm sure he can add to this list.
Oh, for
all right?
sure.
Okay.
It's what, over 500 artists you've worked with?
It's 500 now. We keep a list.
Nice.
All right,
It's
guys. So
500
we're going to be here
now.
for 3 hours just reading names. Here we go. No.
No,
Okay,
we
these
won't.
are some of the artists that Michael has worked with and continues to work with. Sting, Santana, Whitney Houston, Lionel Richie, Shaka Khan, Patty Austin, James Ingram, Patti LaBelle, George Benson, Boz Scaggs, Lenny Kravitz, Luther Vandross, Roberta Flack, Shania Twain, Isaac Hayes, Aaron Neville, Cyndi Lauper, Nancy Wilson, Queen, David Crosby, Stevie Wonder, John Fogerty, Liza Minnelli, Neil Young, actually wrote some music for Neil Young, right? Bonnie Raitt, Elton John, Aretha Franklin, that same Aretha that you heard as a kid, Ray Charles, then musical director for Madonna, Rod Stewart, the greatest in the world, Michael Jackson, Christina Aguilera, Ariana Grande, Ricky Martin, Destiny's Child, Brandy, India Arie, Fantasia, Ashanti, John Mayer, Faith Evans, Brian McKnight, Natasha Bedingfield, Nelly Furtado, Joss Stone, Usher, Keisha Cole, Angie Stone, J-Lo, Mary J. Blige, Lady Gaga, D'Angelo, and more.
Wow.
Whoa,
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
That's the applause, Michael.
That's applause.
Whoa, wow.
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 Launching.